So today we're going to be working on the motorcycle today. It's not my favorite thing to do. I'm capable, I just don't really enjoy it. I think it's compounded by the fact that on the road I don't have everything like super organized as far as like tools and parts and motorcycle components all in like a really clear workspace. When at a house I had like a 4-foot plus rolling tool snap-on box thing, and I had all the drawers, and all the drawers were like OCD organized, and I could go to any drawer, 5 seconds, get the tool I needed in the size I needed. Now I have to dig for everything, and it makes me really unmotivated to work on my bike. But today is the day. I ordered a tidy tail for the XT from, it's like a mom and pop company, 83 Motorsports. He specializes in parts for the XT 250 as a 3D printer, and he prints them himself. This part, for most people would be cosmetic, and while appearance is a benefit to me, it's actually functionality as well. So in my van, when I am traveling and the motorcycle is in here, and for whatever reason, if I don't pull the bike out and I have to sleep in here, well, with Hobbes in here with me, I can't extend the bed for us because the fender on the XT is so ginormous and the flaps to my bed get hooked on it. So it's not awesome. We have to stay in here. So if I can swap that out and get just a little bit more clearance, then the bed should be able to clear it, and it's more comfortable. Mighty might on the off days that we have to stay in here. So that's the plan. It also does look better because the one on the bike is so chunky, but I'm after functionality. They make much more svelte versions of the Fender Eliminator, which also integrate like better turn signals, like lower profile, and I love the way those look, but significant cost increase, and it's not in the fiscal plan right now to upgrade that. This part was like about 30 bucks. And so I'm going to do that today. And since I have to remove the rear fender, which requires removing the seat, I'm going to also dig around and see if I can find my spare air filter. And while it's all pulled apart, may as well just swap the air filter as well. Oil needs to be changed. Not up for doing that today. So today's just fender eliminator and then hopefully air filter. I just need to hurry up and get it done so it's over with. So this is the whole kit for it. This is the main component, which is going to be the fender eliminator. Wires come through the back there. Bolts on, should be plug and play bolt on, and using an existing tail light and wiring. This part, if needed, is for the license plate, but I'm not sure I'm going to need that. And then just 2 packs of bolts for it. So let's see if we can get her done. And historically on my KTM, I did something very similar and swapped out all the lights and the turn signals and all that, and I had to mess with like the relays. It actually was supposed to not be bad, but for some reason I had problems with like the relay that I got, and it was just not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. So I'm gonna hope to not have to mess with the relay and just use the stock turn signals and the stock tail light, and just keep it stock so I don't have any problems with any of that. Let's get started. So the one thing I'm worried about is the seat will come off, no problem, but to get the fender like off and situated, I am worried that I'm gonna have to take all my racks off. And the stinky part about having to take these racks off is it requires a lot to take them off. Like I have to take off plastics and all that to get into the bolts, and I just probably 2 months ago took them off on one side because I've actually, I want to love these racks. I want to love this company. Also a mom and pop. I like to try and support mom and pops when I can. But I've actually snapped 2 of these racks already. They're supposed to be designed for like ADV riding and like to be able to carry luggage, of course, because they're racks. But some of the spots where the welds are, I have not had very good luck. And I don't know if I'm riding harder than other people. I would think not, but maybe. So this version, since it had already been replaced, and this is the 3rd time, he added in extra welding and an extra bracket there in the hopes that there'll be less torque on the racks and I'm gonna have less cracks, because I had mine crack in the tail rack and the side piece. So, but yeah, you can tell there's flex because all the paint is cracking. So these racks are also not the easiest to get off. Like, it takes a lot of parts to maintain them if you need to take them off. You got to just remove so much of the bike, like exhaust fairing, like the heat shield, all the fairings. It's a whole deal. So I really would like to upgrade to the Happy Trails racks, but I just can't spring to do that right now. Right now I'm not doing, like, I have no, you know, because of Hobbes, I don't have any long distance trips in the works, so it's really not that critical right now. The only time I'm putting bags on there is for like a grocery getter run. So these are fine, and I already own them, so they're gonna stay on there. But I think possibly the next time I do like a big like BDR or something, I might switch to the Happy Trails. I've had Happy Trails on previous bikes. I think I had them on my WRR maybe, like a long time ago. And they held up super well. They're heavy, but they were bomb proof. My KTM, I can't remember what I put on that, but I think it was like a lower profile rack, not the Happy Trails. So, but eventually I think I'll upgrade to the Happy Trails, even though they're more expensive and they're bulkier and they're heavier. But I just don't want racks to fail on me. Okay, so to get the seat off, those are the 2 bolts. Oh, don't mind my finger, I sliced it. Those are the 2 bolts that need to be removed. So I'm gonna start with that. Hobbes is not amused. He does not like working on the bike either. He says, why don't you do something fun with me instead of doing that? Sorry, pal. Okay, so I think this is an 8. Let's see. Yep. All right. Perfect. The other thing is, when I had a house, I had like a little ramp and stand I could put the bike up on. I didn't have a full moto stand, but I had like a little setup where I could get it up. And it just makes it so much easier to work on than here, but we'll make do. Okay, I guess that's my magnetic bolt pan right there. Okay, got those 2 off. Get the seat off. I'm thinking, if I recall correctly, the seat slides up and wedges under a little bracket up here. I can't quite see under there, but that's what I recall for most of my seats. And so it needs to slide back out this way, and I'm feeling like this is jamming it up. So I got to take this box off, my toolbox off, and hopefully there's enough space where it still can clear the rack without me taking the rack off, I think. I hope. Okay, so that's a little better. See if we can get the seat off. Yep, pulled right off, thank goodness. So, wonder if I even had to take the seat off. It said I did, but mice. It's the air intake. Jerks. Hope they're not causing me problems. So then I believe That's all I'll need to be able to get the, oh, I need to dig out the air filter. Swap that out while I'm in here. My screwdriver. And Phillips. How you doing? Okay. Thanks for your help. You're so supportive, pal. It's hard to do it on camera versus in real life. It's much easier not looking through the screen of a camera, but looking at it for reals. Okay. I'm notorious for losing parts, so I'm trying so hard to keep them all in one spot. I should probably try and find some kind of box I can put them in down here, because I'm totally gonna kick them and then be missing parts. But my air filter is filthy, and I've changed it pretty regularly. Okay, so these are not ones that you can clean. My actual dirt bikes have all had ones that I used to clean myself and reuse, but it's not the case here. I just have the OEM one, I think. It's like 14 bucks, so I just replace them. 14 bucks is a cheap price to pay to keep your motorcycle with clean air coming in. So I'm gonna pop this turkey in. There's the new one. Some people do take the old ones, just smack them out and put them back in. I might do that if I just like tomorrow went on a dusty ride and I just replaced it. But this one's been in here for a few months, and so I just would rather swap it out. All right, in went the new one. So throw that guy in the garbage. Got the new one in. One down, Fender to go. So I do have the manual for, I just pulled it out for a quick sec to see what, I was curious to see what interval it said. I actually bought a manual and then shrunk it down in size so that I could take it with me when I'm on long distance trips, because I do find the manuals handy, and I prefer paper over PDF. Sometimes I also take notes in it, and I'll put down, like on oil change or something, I'll write in the manual what size bolts everything is, and then I can just pull out the tools. I find it's less frustrating if it's all documented. I also write down when I switch things and put it in the manual. So interesting, the air filter, it's saying check it and do it every 6 months or 4,000 miles. For sure it hasn't been 4,000 miles because this bike doesn't have a ton of miles on it. In 6 months, it's been less than 6 months since I last changed it, but you saw how dirty it is, so it just depends what you're riding. For me, it's important to check it. Yeah, I just over change air filter and oil. And then on this page it says replace the air filter element every 20,000 kilometers or 12,427 miles of operation. I can't even imagine what mine would look like. It would be like, I don't know. Oh my gosh, it would look so awful. The bike wouldn't even run if I didn't replace it every 12,000 miles. Okay, and what I was actually looking for is on my other bikes, you always had to grease. And it's not saying that, and I remembered it not saying that, but I just wanted to make sure. Kind of wondering if I should be putting grease around it. It doesn't say anywhere though. And the videos I had seen historically showed nobody put rim grease either. But all my other bikes, you did put grease. But then again, this whole filter is totally different than most bikes because you're not greasing. All my other bikes, you put grease on the filter too, and this one you don't. So maybe you don't need rim grease to make a seal. What do you guys think? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So I checked my moto box, my maintenance box, and I do have some. For quality foam air filters. This is not a quality foam air filter. And I'm thinking just around the edge to seal it. What y'all think? Let me know and I'll do it or undo it if I did the opposite. Okay, so I just put a tiny bit of room grease around the edge of that and vacuumed out what was in that whole area, just to get it all cleaned up a little bit and got all the dust around the edges off. So good to go there. So now on to the fender. So next up, it's gonna be to remove those 2 bolts that hold the fender or the light on. Those have to come off, and I think it's the same size. I think it's an 8. Yeah, same size as the seat. So, never taken them off, but that one wasn't very tight. But this one, yeah, that one's better. The other one was pretty loose, hey? I do have Loctite, the like removable kind, so I'll probably just replace these with that just to make sure the thread locker's on. Meanwhile, the people the next camp over are firing, and I don't think that there was anywhere super safe for them to be firing, so it doesn't make me feel awesome, but hopefully they somehow found somewhere safe to fire. Okay, next up are the 2 top fender bolts. So these are the 2 top fender bolts that I gotta take out. And I'm gonna hope, this kind of latches in, all these fenders, if you've ever dealt with plastics before, they all have these little tabs. So I'm gonna hope that I can pull this out without having to remove all the racks. Don't really, I mean, this ratchet is fine, but my good ratchet, I can only find, I don't know what I did with a 1/4 inch. I could only find the 3/8, and I couldn't find my adapter, and I only had the 1/4 inch socket handy, so I'll just go with this one. It's not a bad one, I just like my other one better. Okay, so those bolts are out. Put it back in my bolt grave here. And I do need to undo, there's like wiring, you know, which of course is not going to stretch when I pull this out. Should get hazmat pay for what's going on behind me. Yeah, so I gotta get up there and see if I can unplug that. So I do know this light needs to come off, so I'm just gonna go ahead and unbolt it and see if that might make it easier for me to figure out like the electrical wires. And it does look like that's maybe a 10mm. Yep, so let's double check on the supervisor. Supervisor, how are you doing? All quiet on the western front? Okay, I was just checking on you. You let me know if I'm doing something wrong, okay? I'll be back. I am getting torn up by the mosquitoes, but my supervisor back there does not want to move to our clam to work on the bike. He wants to be inside, and he really wasn't feeling well last night. We had a rough night, so I'm being nice, and I'm not going to make him come out to the clam. But when I go over there, he gets worried because I'm too far. And usually I've been trying to let him bark his little head off sometimes for a little bit because he needs to just figure out how to be alone a little bit. But because he had a rough night, I'm being more sympathetic and not making him come out. But as a result, I don't know if you can see that. Mosquitoes are everywhere. Oh, I'm gonna be eaten alive. So I get so nervous with electrical because I don't know anything electrical. But so I was scared to pull. I was trying to disconnect those. I knew that they needed to come apart, but I couldn't quite tell how they work since they're not like shrinked or anything. But yeah, I was able to get it out. So I'm gonna take all three of those out, and then this whole piece hopefully will then come off. Okay, I got the light off. It super stinks though, because to get this piece off, the rack needs to come off. If I need to get to this bolt, I actually have to unbolt all these bolts and take the heat shield off to get to that. Now, if they had made it a different type of bolt, then I could maybe get something on it. But because of the type of bolt it is, and it needs like Allen head, I'm stuck. So I'm gonna see. It's gonna take me a really long time to get all of these things off. It's just annoying. So maybe there's a way for me to pull all this stuff off and put the new one on without completely removing this. It's in some ways it's more work, a lot of ways because less access, but it might be less work than pulling off the side rack, pulling off the heat shield, undoing that bolt, removing the top rack to get to that. So let me try. So here's the adapter, that black piece. Got the light with the wires threaded through. Those two bolts came pre-threaded in there. And so then that little hole there and there, I need to get these two bolts down in there. So let's see what we can do. Okay, I'm gonna drop that in there. Drop that in there. I did use blue Loctite there. I'm just gonna jiggle them until they seat. Okay, so they're both down in there. Now I'm gonna screw them down. They had a regular washer and a lock washer, so I'm just gonna screw until I can feel the lock washer seat. My supervisor must be feeling better because he wanted to come out. So I got his bed and he can supervise from out here, huh? Okay, you tell me what to do next, pal. Okay, so Phillips 1 and Phillips 2 are all tightened down. So now that part is assembled. This is gonna be a pain in the bootay to try and get this thing done without taking the racks off. However, I think I might be able to do it. So I need to remove all of this thing from the rear fender. So the bolts for that are back here, which are under kind of behind this thing. Can you see them up there? So I think I should be able to get a wrench on those and get those out while it's mounted. So I can get a combination wrench on there, which is what I'm doing, but the only bad part is I travel with somewhat mediocre wrenches, and historically I've had high-end wrenches and they're ratcheting, and I don't know what the technical term is, but they have a lot more like teeth or something. So when you ratchet, way smaller increments in them, and working in a tight space like that, this would really come in handy right now because it's like not enough space for me to get a click out of it. So I'm gonna do my best to just loosen it enough so that I can at least get fingers on it to get it loose, because it's a little tricky, but I think I can do it. It's one of those things where you're like, should I just spend the time and take all these racks off? Am I spending more time trying to work around it than to just take them off? But I think I'm still gonna win the battle, so I'm gonna keep at it. Ugh, Definitely gonna need a manicure after this. So that's all the junk that came off. So I was able to get that turkey off. So now let's see if we can get the other part mounted on, I hope. All right, so my best bet is gonna be to somehow connect those while it's dangling, and then get those bolts through there to bolt it down. Okay, so these guys, actually I have to feed them back through to the back side, because the way this is set up, that little trough right there is enough space for those wires to go up it and through that hole, but not enough space for all three of those connectors to be seated in that trough. And this whole thing sits up too high for the trough, the connectors to be in the bigger section. So I'm just gonna go ahead and feed these guys back through to the back side and connect them from the inside. Okay, so that light is still dangling, but I think I got all the connectors together tight enough. But before I go any further, because it's going to be hard to get back in there and reach them, the moment of truth, I'm going to make sure my tail light still works. Right where? We got brake lights. Okay. Good. Now I'm gonna keep going with my mounting. All right, so I have the bolts through there. I put the blue Loctite on it. I kind of am an unreasonable fan of blue Loctite. I kind of put it on everything on the bike. Now I'm gonna feed it through there. See if I can squeeze my hand up there to get the nuts on there. Okay, one click at a time. Got that on there. So now I gotta bolt the whole thing to the bike and also get the license plate on. Okay, now I'm gonna reattach the fender to the frame on both those. Oh, I also noticed my turn signal is broken. And that's not from crashing. I actually think I know what that was. I drove a little while back, I drove and forgot to tighten down the bike all the way. I loaded backwards. And so this side is usually up against a cabinet. So if it's not hunkered down enough, it has the opportunity to hit the cabinet. And I think that's what happened. Bummer. So it's not the first turn signal I broke. So probably just gonna tape it up for now, see if I can splint it in position and then deal with it later. So I'm pretty much done with the Fender Eliminator. So I should be good with a tidy tail. It's looking good. I think all I have left to do is put the seat back on. And I was debating two things. One, I have a cable I've wanted to wire into the battery to run a USB-C up to my quad lock mount, which has a built-in charger. So when I'd be on the mount and the bike's running, it would charge. But I think I'm out of steam to do that. So I think I'm gonna have to save it for another day. So here's the aftermath. And it removed all of this crud down here, which happens to be all of that crud, which is kind of a lot of stuff. These three pieces. It's kind of a lot that I was able to take off. So now it looks much better. It doesn't hang down to here, so I'm hoping I can get that thing to clear. So we'll see next time I get it loaded up. All right, all put back together. I think it looks so much better, simpler, without the junk on there. So, only thing left to do is take my little makeshift manual here, and since this is my travel book, I like to keep track. Like this kit used 7/16 for most of the bolts, and so, or the nuts were all 7/16, and as a result, like I don't usually pack SAE. I only really pack metric because everything stock on this bike, being Japanese, tends to be metric. So it doesn't occur to me to bring, and while it's not the bolts that are there, I could like use other things, channel locks or something to like get the same result. I do like to write it down in my book so that I know, and then before a trip I can look at the list and be like, oh, 7/16, what did that go to? And then I can decide if I think I should bring that size as well. And if I have a bunch of aftermarket stuff that's using it, then maybe it's worthwhile to bring along certain sizes that I otherwise wouldn't. So I'm gonna do that before I forget. And that was the only one here. That's the only size that I use that I wouldn't already have somewhere else on the bike. So do that, and then I am done. So all of this had me reminiscing on things I've done to bikes over the years. And I've actually done one other Fender Eliminator kit. I did it on a Kawasaki ZX that I had. I had that bike for forever. But it was the first brand new bike I bought, and I had it probably, well, I guess not forever, but like probably 8 years. And I was one time went over to my dad's house for dinner, and I can't remember what was going on, but for some reason I couldn't pull all the way into his garage. So my bike was kind of hanging out, and I needed to do something and then move the bike. And I told him, hey, my bike's there. Don't shut the garage door. I'm still doing stuff out there. I'll do it in a second. I don't know what happened in 30 seconds after I told him that. I heard him. Okay, so my dad never swears. And I heard him say the SH word. And I was like, I came running out because like, I can't even, I've never heard him. Yeah, never. So I came running out to see him, and he's just like, oh no, I broke your bike. And he kept saying that, and I'm thinking like he ran over my bike or something. And I run out to the garage and look, and he had 30 seconds after I told him to not shut the garage door, he hit the button. And obviously his garage door, it predates like childproof garage doors, because it closed, hit the bike and kept closing, and the back part of my bike was hanging out, and so it snapped off the fender. So he was like panicking that he broke my bike, and I just looked at it, and it was just the fender, and the fender was like dangling, which was a little traumatic. I just started to laugh because it was like so ridiculous. One, that he forgot like 30 seconds after, and that like he was in such a panic about it, and it really was like totally fixable. But yeah, one of the only times in my entire life I've heard my dad say any swear word. Yeah, so then I ended up just installing a Fender Eliminator kit since he had already eliminated my Fender. So I just bought like a kit and put like a tidy tail on it, which looked better anyway. So like this, it was more functional, but because I didn't have a Fender anymore, but it was actually installed because of functionality instead of aesthetics. But yeah, it just as I was doing this, that story came to mind. All right, catch you guys. It's probably kind of a boring video for most people to watch, but yeah, that's just a day at camp. That's how it goes some days. So if you made it this far, thanks so much for sticking around for my story time, And I hope to catch you guys in the next one. See ya. Uh-oh, my supervisor fell asleep. Oh no, he's up. Yeah, I almost caught you, mister. I almost caught you. Wait, where are you going? You sleeping on the job? Oh boy.